joining me. Today I'd like to discuss a woman named Timnah and explore the difference between what makes someone a mother in Israel and an enemy of God. First, who was Timnah? We read in Genesis chapter 36 verse 22 that Timnah was Lotan's sister. Lotan is listed as a prince, so Timnah was a princess, but tradition teaches that she was born to an illegitimate union. She came to Avraham Avinu, the patriarch Abraham, and asked him to teach her monotheism. He had helped others convert, but he rejected her because he saw by Baruch HaKodesh, or divine inspiration, that she had a significant defect. She was told that because of her illegitimate birth, she didn't have the level of holiness required to marry into the patriarchal family. Now, at first glance, that seems cruel. She wasn't responsible for her parents' sins. Should they have been sufficient grounds to forbid this princess marriage into the family of Abraham? On the contrary, we see that there are actually many examples of illegitimate children who became exemplary figures. Osnas, for example, who we'll be studying in a few weeks. So what was the difference with Timnah? Why was this potential convert denied on the basis of her birth? I'd like to suggest that Timnah's flaw was not in her birth, it was in her attitude towards her birth. I want to read a few verses from Ezekiel chapter 18. The whole passage is too long for this video, so I'll only read selected parts, but please take the time to read the passage at home and study it. Verse 5. If a man is righteous and does what is just and right, verses 9 and 10, if he has followed my laws and kept my rules and acted honestly, he is righteous. Such a man shall live, declares the Lord. Now, suppose he has a son who is a ruffian, a shedder of blood, and it goes on to list other sins, idolatry, adultery, robbery, taking interest. Verses 13 and 14, shall he live? He shall not live. If he has committed any of these abominations, he shall die. He has forfeited his life. Now suppose that he in turn has gotten a son who has seen all the deeds his father committed and has not taken heed or imitated them. Verse 17, he shall not die for the iniquity of his father, but shall live. So with Timnah, I would like to say that she failed to take heed to the sins of her parents. She continued to walk in their footsteps because she did not see a need for holiness. But even though she was unwilling to do what was right, she still desperately wanted to be a part of the family and the blessing of Abraham. Back in Genesis chapter 36 verse 12, we read that Timnah was a concubine of Esau's son Eliphaz. Timnah the princess lowered herself to the position of concubine. What was her reasoning? She said, I had rather be a servant to these people than a mistress of any other nation. So she went to Eliphaz and said, if I am unworthy to become your wife, let me at least be your concubine. Now let's take a second look at Eliphaz. He had the same philosophy as Timnah. He wanted the blessings of Abraham, but thought it was pointless to do what was right. When we read in Job chapter 22 verses 1 through 4, it says, Eliphaz the Temanite said in reply, can a man be of use to God, a wise man benefit him? Thus should I gain if you are righteous? Does he profit if your conduct is blameless? Is it because of your piety that he arraigns you and enters into judgment with you? In this passage, what Eliphaz is saying is correct, but his implication that we don't need to do right is wrong. We don't benefit the Almighty when we do right, but that doesn't mean we needn't do right. We still need to do right regardless. Eliphaz did not believe that there was any benefit for a man to do what was right, and we see he was personally reproved by God for his attitude. In Job chapter 42 verse 7 we read, after the Lord had spoken these words to Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, I am incensed at you and your two friends, for you have not spoken the truth about me, as did my servant Job. We can see that this ne'er-do-good couple tries extremely hard to find blessing. We know Timnah sought blessing because of her desperation to join Abraham's family, and we know Eliphaz sought blessing because tradition teaches he was very obedient to his father. But they are never willing to do what is right. So what comes from this union? Back to Genesis chapter 36, verse 12. Timnah was a concubine of Esau's son Eliphaz. She bore Amalek to Eliphaz. Amalek, the sworn enemy of God himself, and the only person who God commands to have his very memory blotted out, was born to these two, the two who never did what was right. Amalek is the one who put his hand to Hashem's throne and sought to overthrow the very purpose of the universe. And he is the son of this woman Timnah, who sought to assimilate and desensitize and diminish the sanctity and the holiness of Abraham. Like mother, like son, she who had on the surface wanted to convert became an enemy when thwarted and taught her children after her in her footsteps. Only a child of Rachel can defeat a child of Amalek. For example, Amalek was defeated by Joshua of the tribe of Ephraim. King Agag's people were defeated by Saul of the tribe of Benjamin. King Agag himself was destroyed by Samuel of the tribe of Ephraim, and Haman was defeated by Esther of the tribe of Benjamin. So what's the relationship here? Timnah's willingness to give up even her standing as princess can only be counteracted by Rachel's selfless act of giving up her rightful marriage to Jacob. Timnah denied her own best interest for the wrong reasons. Rachel gave up her own best interest for the right reasons. This is the core of the difference between the makings of a matriarch and the nemesis. A matriarch is one who is willing to give up her own best interest to do what is right, whereas a nemesis is one who avoids doing what's right and seeks the same reward. May God help all of us to do what's right with pure motives. Shalom, and thank you for watching.